email from you.
What?
The whole time you've been here.
Slipped through? That's impossible.
I don't know how.
I don't either. Well, I get my initial list from housing right in the beginning of the academic year, so depending on when people arrive or not, I don't know. You got bumped out?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'll forward you some emails.
Yeah. You can send it to me and I'll be happy to put you on.
We're missing out.
Well, for me, I'm going to talk a little bit about the email list only because I find it fascinating. And it is a real distinct privilege and an honor to, and which is why I never turned down an invitation, is because people, students like yourselves, have been very gracious and having fun with this whole email thing with my name attached to it. And I'll tell you why I did that in a minute, but I need to say, the email list is not in my job description and never has been. So that is something that I created, I don't know, over 15 years ago when email started to come into it. That was a long time ago.
What's on it?
What's on it?
Yeah.
What's on it?
Yeah. Events, programs,
Job assignments.
Things you did in violation.
Oh,
everything.
that's why I don't know anything about it.
And so when I started it, I mean, well, first when I came to Cornell, I came as a hall director for Balch, which is the all-women's residence hall. And this was before the first-year initiative, which meant that it was upper-class students as well as first-year students. And down on West, they were different halls. These residence halls did not exist. Then they were called class halls. And a lot of first-year students and upper-class students lived down here. So I was in Balch for a while, had a dynasty going, and I decided I had 2 other master's degrees. Like I said, I am a degree collector. And then when I got into the PhD program, I moved out of the residence hall and became the program director for Robert Purcell. And the Robert Purcell then did not look like the one it is now, but the outside of the building is identical. And then when I moved in there, or took that job, I was trying to figure out how do I reach out to people, and poster ads only go so far. So an email was starting to come in. Now email then was very different than email now. It was quite tedious in those days because I had to actually input every single person's email address in. Now I can just dump it in. But in those days, so I decided, okay, maybe let's try the email thing, see how that works. And I only sent messages to people living on North Campus. Noise, different noise, was down here, and that program director kind of liked the idea, but they did it differently than I did. And so they sent emails here. And so when I was thinking about it, part of it is my background is in psychology and social work, and community building is what's important to me. And in those days, and I continue to hold to this, which is why my name is still on the email list, is that I did not want to create a list that was impersonal. I did not want to just say this is the community center programs list, or whatever we call it. And so I decided to leave my name on it so that people could actually communicate directly with me. And then when I have more time, I try to interact with people through email. And so funny stories came from that. And again, you know, when I first started, I was probably sending emails to, I don't know, maybe 2,000 people that were on 2 or 3 on North. And now it's about 7,000 or 8,000 at a shot. And I've included graduate students who are also, I mean, basically anybody who is in university housing, co-ops, and who wants to be is on the list. So I started with, so I kept the name because I felt it was important community connection. And funny things started to happen. I've been at Cornell over 25 years, so I know my way around. I know a number of people. I've been in variations of what used to be residence life, campus life, and now we're in the student's office, so it just moves around. And there were a couple students that lived down on West Campus, class halls, and apparently someone was smoking. I think a custodian was smoking underneath their window, and they did not know who to talk to at all. And I thought, well, I know some people, so I said, okay. Well, first off, I would get these emails from people who didn't know who else to ask. So that's the other thing. I do get emails that they just want to have a question. They don't know who to go to. So, and then I can redirect because I know people. So I had emailed the person who was responsible, had the custodians reporting to them saying, by the way, I just want you to know I got this email. Well, it stopped the next day, and I think these two people just about fell out, because they just sent it out to this random person. I mean, they don't really know. It's just a name. It's great because I also don't know a lot of, not that I don't have a lot of pictures of myself out there, so I can walk around, and it only gets scary when people ask me my name. It's like, ooh, okay, somebody said, just Denise, there are times when I have to say my whole name, and then things start to happen. And I remember, and again, when I was first starting, I wasn't thinking about the consequences. I mean, well, how would I know? I was just sending out emails, doing what I thought was simple enough, and then things started to change then what happens is generations happen. So the first few people, the first 1,000, the first 2-3 years of people, I was just an annoyance. This person sending them emails, please, and so whatever. Then it started to be a generational thing, and then because I've been doing it for a while, so now everybody says, oh, you're going to be getting emails from this person over here, and all this kind of stuff. And then student organizations started catching on as a way to get on the list. So the list originally started out as my way to send out to people, this is what's happening in Robert Purcell. That's all. And then students from organizations were like, wow, well, you're talking to these people, can we hop on? And so then it just kept growing and growing. And then of course I put up with how many times I had to hear about, oh, nobody reads your list anyway. It's like, okay, well, for somebody, and I would give out things, and I'd be like, wow, I guess somebody is listening, quote unquote, when people are answering when I'm giving things away. But, or saying that there are better ways to do it. So after over 15 years of doing the email list, it's both wonderful and, how should I say, well, it's wonderful in the sense that students appreciate the list and use the list. It is sad that it is the main vehicle to get things out, because it certainly doesn't capture everything, and the university, where we haven't really hit a system yet that is like a repository of all the kinds of programs and events going on. But it does a push-pull thing, and again, my main reason for doing it is more about community building rather than getting out information about the events. But it serves both purposes. Have I bored you yet? No?